Morning and welcome to Gardening 365 58. Now the weather forecast for the weekend wasn't very good at all, so being a typical gardener I've made preparations. The preparations that I've made are I started filming them this week on Thursday because I knew the weather was going to be great and I was out all day Saturday. So here's some filming I did on Thursday and on Friday. It's Thursday night, and as forecast on Garden 36557, I'm pulling the spinach out, but that will create more space to put more things in, and also it will supply some greens for another purpose. And that area now needs a quick weed and just levelling out a little bit, and it's ready for planting. And the greens, well, you probably know that's going to happen to that first of all. And again, you saw it on Garden 36557. And the first round for the ducks and geese. And those are the bits left over by the ducks. And I'll be using them for something very shortly. And the spinach, along with a few other things, have been chopped up small, ready to go in the wormery. To be continued. It's Friday, and I finish work a little bit earlier on a Friday, so I get more chance to get out in the garden. And I'm going to carry on where I left off yesterday. As I previously told you, I'm going to put some beetroot in here, but I just need to get those weeds out first of all. So I'm not going to show you how I get weeds out, but it's best to get all of the weed out, including the root. And first out is some spring onions. They've been left in there. Never waste anything, they're more than edible. They'll be going in something tonight for our food. Any weeds like this is a dock with long roots. You need to get the whole root out. If you don't get the whole root out, it will grow back, and you don't want these growing in your garden. And I could probably break this up by hand, but I've just got a little fork over there, so I'm just going to very lightly turn the top surface over now. Now I love to see freshly turned soil. It's got a few little lumps in it. You can just break them down a bit smaller if you want to. But for what I'm putting in, that's not far off. But I love breaking up soil, so I'm going to do a bit. Now this is the first for me. I've grown beet this year in little plugs. So now all I'm going to do is take them out the little plugs and plant them sort of in some rows. That's it, they're all in. But they're all looking a bit sorry for themselves now. And they desperately need a drink of water. I can't water them direct because that will harm them. So what I'm going to do is just water in between the rows. They definitely need water on as soon as possible. Now they look really sorry for themselves at the moment. I have given them a couple of cans of water. Later tonight I'll go and give them another can of water with the rows on it, so it sprinkles it out everywhere. And I'm hoping most of them grow. I have got another tray, so if any sort of fail, I can replant some. If you're watching and enjoying the video, please subscribe and you'll never miss a future upload. Thank you. I'm now going to take the bottom layer of the wormery away and have a look if it's ready for taking out into making up compost. It is the oldest one, so it shouldn't be far off ready. And then what I'll do is replace that then up on the top with a brand new tray. Now here's a top tray, and this is just purely 1 week old, so I wouldn't expect a lot to have happened to this. Just turning it around. I'm seeing some worms. There's a tiger worm, there's a red wriggler. There are worms in here. It's fairly damp considering how warm the weather's been recently. It shows some really good activity. So I say not a lot happening in there, but I wouldn't expect it. It's the first week. So then I'll go down to the next level, and as you can clearly see now, there's worms everywhere. And this one's probably about 3-4 weeks old, 3 weeks, and there is lots and lots of worms. It's good to turn them over every now and then just to let new oxygen in. That's not bad at all. Okay, and that's possibly going to be the most active tray of all at the moment. I might put a few greens in that later to give them some extra food and liven them up a little bit even more. I'll put that back in a bit. Third tray, this is well over a month old now. I did put some extra mushroom compost in here as well, so we won't have finished that yet. So this one will take a little bit longer. Again, this one is quite wet, which is good. Not added any extra moisture to it, they're making their own moisture. I'll try and turn them over at least once or twice a week. Just let that air into there. Now the bottom one is the one that I'm after. So I've got to have a look at this first of all to decide if it's ready for the next stage. And there are lots of worms in there, so I'm going to have to take all of those worms out. So I'm just going to take the tray away. Now for this next part of the job I need a couple of sieves. Now the green one that you can see, that's sort of 1/2 inch, and the other one's maybe 1/4 inch. Now the worms don't like sunlight, so they'll always dive down, and this is actually looking a bit damp for this, so all I'm going to do is get the big bit through. I'm not going to do much more than that, and any of the big lumps I'll just put in for composting. Don't ever put too much in the sieve, because all that does is just slow the process down. You will find worms that come through. I just throw them back into the other compost, the one for making up for next time. And before I fill the next one, I put cardboard in the bottom. No, I haven't got quite as much as I've done previously, but well, that's what it is, and it's a little bit damper than I would have liked it, so I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't got quite as much as I would have liked to have done. If you look, there are little eggs, and those are the worm eggs. If I can find any of those, I'm going to pull them out and chuck them back into the next compost. Now I'm going to set the next batch off. First of all, what I'm going to put in is some tea. They've come from our tea bags. I take them out of the tea bags, they dry a little bit better that way. And there's some eggs that have been crushed up. They're really good in your compost. So I'm going to sprinkle that out over the top. And believe it or not, eggs crush really well if they're dried, so I dry them. Okay, then next after that, I'll put a handful or two of greens in. These are just garden greens. I've just chopped up to make them a bit more smaller. And if they're small, it just means the worms can convert them into worm compost a little bit quicker. Then the next level, it doesn't have to be this way. I'll put some finely ripped cardboard. That sort of dries everything out a little bit, so that's good. Next level, I've got some coffee, and a really good friend I work with, Sean, gives me this coffee. He runs a little mobile coffee shop. If you want to do this and you want to get some coffee, ask a coffee shop. I'm sure they'll give you their waste product. So again, just like I did with the tea, spread it out. Doesn't have to be too exact, because I'm going to mix it when I've finished. Then on top of that, put a few more greens. And on top of that, the last of my cardboard. I was thinking 4 to 6 weeks time, that'd be ready for more worm compost. And now I've got an ideal place to put the worm compost. Just give it a shake in between me beetroot. I film all of this. You get the idea. There we are, sprinkled out, and that's the best compost money can't buy. Now, Sunday morning, this is one of my raised beds, and you can see it looks like it's made out of wood. Reality is it's a block construction, but then I've just covered them with sort of planks of wood, and the idea, it looks like wood, but the blocks will never rot, and if wood does rot, obviously thin planks are much easier to replace. It's just really for aesthetic reasons, no other reason than that. But it does look good. The height of those is probably about 18 inches off the ground. The width of my bed is about 1.5–1.7 metres, and the reason why it's this distance, that I can reach to the middle, and then from the other side I can reach from the middle, and then it makes it easy, really easy for plantering and weeding. And also what I did to make it a bit more accessible is to make a board which goes across, which the cat's annihilating at the minute. He's not supposed to be on the video. Now, being about 18 inches off the ground, what it's ideal for, you can actually sit on the bed and do lots of your gardening. So it's perfect about 18 inches to act as a bit of a seat. But the problem then is, obviously, to lean over, it is tough on the old back. Also what I've done is made some different shaped ones. So there's little pods in them, and those work really well. But my latest creation is a much higher raised bed, and the idea of this, that you don't have to bend over at all. Now it will have wood, as you can see, around the top, at the bottom, and that's one of the jobs I'm going to do in the next week or so. So now for picking the strawberries, it's ever so easy, no back bending, just reach in, pick the strawberries, as simple as that. So the problem is, the deeper the bed, the more soil you're going to use, and I don't know, I'm guessing there's probably 2–3 tonne of soil there, and obviously if you're not as able at the moment, moving that amount of soil is going to be difficult. You can purchase ready-made soil, it is quite expensive. All of the soil in here I've sort of made myself with homemade compost and sort of mixing it in with topsoil and horse muck, that sort of stuff. So the hard work for me now has been done, and obviously I can go into my retirement. I'm 56 now, so I've got a few more years and then I'll retire, and I've got really used raised beds then that I can carry on gardening into my older age. Hopefully that's been informative for you. Now, if you saw the last video upload, Gardening 36557, you will have seen that we'd had the last part of our greenhouse put up, and the project for the next week or two now is to get that table from there and move it into that last area. And what that'll do is free me up enough area to put the last few of my tomatoes in and to put those cucumbers in, and generally give this a really good tidy up. My first problem is that it's 43 degrees in the greenhouse at the moment. The sun's come out and it's baking hot in here, so I'm only going to be able to do this for so long. I'm going to have to get out and have a cool down. So that's the area I've got to clean. I've got to take the grass and weeds out and then dig it out a little bit so I can put some concrete in there, and then the table can go on that. And the sweat is absolutely pouring off me. So there was me at the start of the video saying how good my planning is. Perhaps I haven't planned this one out quite so good. I'm sweaty. I need a drink. No, not that sort of drink. And I've got about 400 grams of strawberries, maybe just slightly less when I take all the green out of them. I need 100 millilitres of orange juice, and I need 1 banana for my strawberry smoothie. Place the strawberries and banana into a liquidizer, and just for reference, I've used almost twice as many strawberries as it does say on the recipe, but I like strawberries. And to that, just going to add 100 ml of orange juice. And then of course, I'm going to give it a blitz in the liquidizer. And as Jamie Oliver would say, whizzy wazzy woo! And 2 delicious strawberry smoothies. Done. That's it cooled down now from the drink, and I'm going back in the greenhouse. Probably a good job because it's raining again. And I'm sharing my time in the greenhouse with a little friend. And these are great to have in your greenhouse because they eat the bugs. So I positively encourage any frogs, toads, anything that's going to eat the bugs into the greenhouse. Weeded that bit now. Got about that much weeds out of it. And I've got just enough time now to do the other side as well, which is not as bad as the first side. I'll finish this side now as well. So on the next video upload, Gardening 365 59, I'll be digging this out and then concrete in it to make a nice level base to put the potting table on, and we've got a big propagator that we're going to put in here and some shelving at the end. And as I say, then it'll be a really big tidy up time. Well, that concludes another Gardening 365, Gardening 365 58. Thank you ever so much for watching. Now obviously these videos I do free of charge, and I will always do them free of charge, but what I would like, in sort of a little way of repeat payment, please could you leave me comments. Okay, if you're watching via Facebook, okay, just leave a little comment on Facebook what you think of the videos. Any suggestions for future uploads would be great. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, exactly the same, leave me a comment on YouTube and let me know what you need for what you'd like to see for future uploads. That would be absolutely magnificent, and from that I get a real buzz when I see those comments. I try and answer every single comment I get. Okay, so it's just great to do that. So see you next time for Gardening 365 59. Bye, have a great week.